Unfortunately for Randy Pitchford, the firestorm that is Borderlands 4 is not going to pass anytime soon, instead cementing the reality that this is a CEO that is completely being crushed under the weight of the entire internet. It's become very clear that at this point, the best thing that Gearbox can do is just put Randy in the Phantom Zone for a good few years so that he doesn't open his mouth anymore, because that would definitely be best for business. As IGN reported here, my advice to users is to accept reality and tune or to not play. So yeah, Randy Pitchford is telling people to refund his studio's game if they're so unhappy with its performance. I can already imagine the investors at Gearbox slapping their foreheads and frantically reaching for their cell phones to call Randy when he said this, but honestly, it really doesn't surprise me. Randy is, in case you can't notice, an unhinged cannon. The guy loves giving his opinions on everything, being the center of the room. So who knows, maybe all this vitriol is kind of what he thrives on. That being said, it's not really going well for him, considering that fans are now openly calling to boycott Borderlands 4 in the comments on Randy's post all over social media because of how this guy is conducting himself in the face of all the criticism. As this user said in Randy's comment section, this dude is an embarrassment to the people behind the scenes who put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. You're doing a great job of invalidating their work by being a social media drama queen. And they're right. And as you can see below that, another user would also say that Randy will be the sole reason that Borderlands 4 fails and more. So what we're witnessing is a game that could have mitigated its problems through clear communication that would have solved a lot of things. An actual, I don't know, community manager that knows how to talk to people online would probably have fixed this already. Instead, we got Randy trying to 1v1 million like he's Jet Li in the One or something. And you know that it's bad when Notch, you know, the guy who made Minecraft of all things, decides to publicly comment on Randy Pitchford's historic crash out by simply saying this as it reads, "Be a man, dude." And yeah, I would agree, but Randy didn't really like that, because here's how he responded to Notch's comment. "Every man must accept the reality of the relationship between their gender and what the software they are running is doing. Masculinity is a shader option. Try turning it off if you'd like to tune your own performance." I think I speak for all of us when I say, Randy, what are you talking about? Like, what are you even doing over there at Gearbox? I mean, when I say someone over there needs to lock Randy's phone in a box so that he can't say things anymore, but knowing Randy, he'd probably get desperate and find an unattended computer and then just use that instead. So they'd probably need to put Randy's hands in like cement so that he can't answer people anymore. But knowing Randy again, he would probably then learn to type with his feet or something. The guy is a menace, dear viewers, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's kind of borderline funny at this point how this guy is going about these things. I'm not even mad anymore. I'm just kind of fascinated by his behavior. I'm like a customer on a safari that is zooming in at the wildlife, wondering how these things came to be, but instead of a gorilla, it's Randy Pitchford that's screaming into the void. Of course, Randy would then try to save face more by saying things like this: "We have made an amazing and fun and huge looter-shooter campaign game. The game is pretty damn optimal, which means that the software is doing what we want without wasteful cycles on bad processes." Well, I wouldn't say optimal, considering people are saying that it still runs like molasses for them. For example, here's a video clip of a user showing how endgame looks for them playing as Harlow, and yeah, please watch this.
No, I'm mad!
And as you saw, it's completely unplayable for them. The FPS drops are so bad that the game has become a slideshow when they play it. There's really not much you can do to fix that on your end. It's just a problem that only the studio can really fix via patches at this point. And if that wasn't bad enough, here's another clip where a user simply cannot shoot an enemy at all, as the game itself crumbles under its own weight, making your enemies immortal. Please, watch this too. So like I said, the game is pretty broken on PC, unfortunately, console too to a degree as well. And you also know that it's bad when Moxie, a Borderlands YouTuber who does guides for the game, had to comment on the same post I got those clips from and say this: I reported this to Gearbox already because I had the same issue. It seems to be caused by Demon Core. If you respec out of it and then respec into it, it fixed it for me. Oh great, so certain abilities, if you invest in them, completely breaks the game and everything within it. Just wonderful. And if that's not bad enough, you have users like this Alex Zode guy who reported his Amon character has been completely stripped of all of his skill points when trying to play co-op with his friends. As you can see, apparently he tried to respec Amon after this game-breaking glitch, but his character cannot even respec because the game's files are now saying that his character is level 1 when he's actually level 35 instead. So not only is his character completely ruined and doesn't work and all of that, but now all those hours spent playing the game are meaningless now until Gearbox also patches and fixes this as well. So I guess if you're playing the game, maybe don't play with your friends for now, I guess, which yes, kind of invalidates a lot of what Borderlands is all about, but hey, that's the game right now. I guess that's what's happening. But then you got amazing self-owns like this. So okay, let me show you. A user named Shabazz would ask Randy this as it reads: I got a 5080, what you mean Randy? Do I need a workstation 10,000 GPU? Do I need to make a time machine and get the 7090 Randy? I shouldn't need frame gen for more than 70 consistent frames on high settings. And as you can see, Randy opts to be the Shabazz guy's personal technician for his problems. Like, listen to how incredible this is. Here's what Randy said to Shabazz: you should be in good shape, run on that 1440p monitor, recommend 2 inputs into that G8 so you're running it split screen. What FPS are you getting? Desync off, disable anti-aliasing, use DLSS, multi-frame generation at 4 times, NVIDIA Reflex on, match your frame rate limiter to your monitor's refresh rate. You can set everything to very high, but you can gain some more frames if you turn down or off the volumetric fog. Let me know what FPS you get with those settings. Then Paul Tassi, a writer for Forbes, caught wind of this and he said this: Randy is now doing personal tech support for Twitter users and recommends 4 times frame gen for a 1580 and telling them to turn off fog, which is literally not an option in the game. Yeah, so Randy's giving technical support to users via Twitter to fix their games by telling them to do things to fix their performance. It's not available in Borderlands 4 right now. Amazing things are happening, friends. Not good things or smart things, but amazing nonetheless, because I don't know about you, but that's just incredible to witness for me. As one user named Matthew in the comments would say, Randy needs to stop tweeting. And yes, Matthew, we all agree with you, except for Randy, who is out here telling people to do things not available in this game to fix them. That's just amazing, man. But Randy still thinks the game is a major success, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if despite all of these issues that Borderlands 4 is still selling like hotcakes. Because right now, a lot of looter shooters are kind of in the dumps. Destiny 2, which is a big one, is like a walking corpse at this point. And people just really want a fun game that they can play with their friends or alone, I guess. Yet Gearbox was given quite literally the easiest slam dunk in all of looter shooter history to capitalize on, and instead here we are in the dirt like idiots trying to get the next Unreal Engine 5 disaster game to work for like the what, 5th or 6th time this year alone? Why are video games like this? I said this before, but seriously, I kinda hate how true this all is. Like, no other industry can release broken products for full price like video games can. Oh sure, buy our car. Sorry that the brakes don't work, we'll patch those in later I guess. You wanna buy this parachute? Sure, just know that 7 out of the 10 times our parachutes tend to not open when you need them most. That's what video games feel like this day when you buy them day one, despite paying 100% of the asking price. You're never really given 100% of the workable product these days, well, mostly anyways. And I mean, looking at the future, I can't say that I'm really hopeful. Like, did you know that both The Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk sequel will also be using Unreal Engine 5? That does not fill me with confidence at all. That of all these games and more are being made using that same engine, yet almost nothing that has come out so far using Unreal Engine 5 has seemingly worked well for the most part. Of course, every company will think that they'll be the ones to crack the engine. And who knows, maybe CD Projekt Red could be the ones to release a functioning Unreal 5 engine game at release. But based on their track record of every release from every other studio has used it, I'm not really so sure. It just really sucks, because before most companies used their own in-game engines because they allowed them to specialize and make games that really only they could make. Think about it, right? Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 2 and even 3, for example, they were all made on the Red engine, which CD developed and reiterated on for years, and then it allowed them to create their own unique experiences that really honestly couldn't be found anywhere else. People love those games, yet now they're ditching the Red engine completely, and the only reason I can think of why is pretty much for outsourcing purposes. It's likely much cheaper to outsource if everyone uses the same engine. There's probably way less developers out there who even know how to use Red engine over Unreal these days anyways too. I mean, at least some games are still using their own unique engines. For example, Battlefield 6 is being made on Frostbite engine still, which DICE has created themselves, which is tailor-made for their sort of games. But I would wager if Battlefield 6 was made on Unreal Engine 5, we likely would have another big problem on our hands yet again. But I don't think Randy telling people to refund or, not buy his game is, not really a good look, especially when so much is riding on the line here. As Rock Paper Shotgun reports here, I tried the new recommended settings for Borderlands 4 and oh no, they don't actually fix its stuttering. As Rock Paper Shotgun reports further, as you can see, despite running a rig with arguably some of the best specs money can buy right now, the game still stutters, routinely doesn't hit its caps, and is unable to fully harness the raw power of the specs that they're running. So let me get this straight. If high-end computers that are worth thousands of dollars can't even run Borderlands 4 well at release, what are the lower-end users supposed to do then? Pretty much nothing, it seems, but not play the game at all, I guess. And also, as IGN reports here, Borderlands 4 runs worse than usual for an Unreal Engine 5 game, and they advise against badass settings. Badass setting, by the way, is like the max setting for Borderlands 4 performance-wise. So anyway, Digital Foundry is who IGN is referring to here. And one of their people, Alex Battaglia, was running Borderlands 4 to test it on, as IGN says here, on the fastest gaming CPU that money can buy, and yet despite that, Digital Foundry said that the game was running like garbage still. They said the game doesn't load textures properly, despite using the most powerful hardware, like I said, and oftentimes things just don't load until you get much closer to them, which shouldn't happen for a game that is demanding this much power to run in the first place. As Alex Battaglia says here, as you can see, they have no idea why Gearbox did it this way, and that they're also infinitely puzzled at the performance of Borderlands 4 for PC specifically. What's also puzzling is the game locks its frame rate to 30 FPS during cutscenes. The issue here is that the transition from gameplay to cutscene is then a hard crash of about 60 frames or above to suddenly half of that or less than when the cutscene actually starts. That just means that the transition is not smooth at all, especially on PC, on PS5 Pro at least, which is where I am playing the game currently. The game feels stable for me, I guess I'll say. It has actually been running better, I can confirm, for me at least, than it was a few days ago, but then again, I'm running the game myself on performance mode exclusively. And I've also turned off all the nonsense like camera shake and more. I even turned off the adaptive trigger, since the difference in how the triggers felt based on whichever gun manufacturer I was using was really limiting my DPS during combat, because some guns were causing my controller to push back against my fingers as I played. So essentially, in order to get Borderlands 4 running better on PS5 Pro, I pretty much had to turn off like almost everything in their settings to do so. Now it runs mostly fine, I would say. I still get dips here and there, but generally speaking, it's pretty solid at least. Although the texture pop-in thing is still a problem, especially when I first load into the game proper. For example, here's my aim on when I loaded in just last night playing the game. And as you can see, he has like a painty-like texture to his armor because the textures aren't loaded in. This happens rather frequently, by the way. And I've also noticed that in some cutscenes, some characters don't have eyelids, which is, probably not intended, I would guess. But I'm definitely having a better time with the game than, say, 99% of the PC community, and that's for sure. And I don't mean that in like a I'm a better than you kind of way. I mean that in a I feel your guys' pain over there, because AAA studios just keep screwing you guys over, which is completely unacceptable at this point. But one major complaint against Borderlands 4 is also the lack of an FOV slider, especially on consoles. As seen here from IGN again, Gearbox is looking to add it soon to Borderlands 4 on console. The reasoning is because for a lot of players, the FOV or field of view is causing them to have severe motion sickness playing the game. Just add it to the list of issues. Thankfully, I'm fine somehow from this despite having stigmatism in both of my eyes. The game doesn't have motion blur either on console, which is fine by me because I turn that off in any game I play anyways, but on PC it does have the motion blur option and the FOV functions too. So again, very, very weird that Gearbox opted to not include similar features between their systems or their platforms. Why doesn't the console version have an FOV slider, you may be asking? According to Randy, it's down to fairness. This is what he had to say about it. Be aware, you have no idea what the team and I were planning and how FOV slider might affect fairness with such a thing. That said, I've always wanted to commit to and prioritize what Borderlands should be versus try to turn it into something it should. My hope is for our ambitions to be additive, not subtractive. So by fairness, what Randy is actually saying is that with an FOV slider available on consoles, it would in theory cause the game to run worse the further that you would zoom out the game. Because then the game would have to load in more assets, particle effects, and more simultaneously since your screen is able to see more of it happening in real time. Yet they believed that by removing FOV entirely, that was needed to keep the game running stable on consoles at least. But now with this problem, you have two options. Well, more like three options. Okay, option one, you enable FOV on consoles and likely see all hell break loose as performance crashes across the board. Option two, you don't allow FOV and you maintain what you have, but you then make your game genuinely unplayable for anyone who gets motion sickness from, playing your game. Or option three, which is that you spend the resources and optimize FOV on console and make it better for everyone. But obviously that last option will likely take the longest and cost more money to cater to people who already gave you their money, so who knows as of now. Randy also, as seen here, did a poll if people wanted FOV on consoles, and yep, overwhelmingly majority said yes. So it's probably in their best interest to add this, but as this user said here, as you can see, Gearbox trying to blame their game's performance on players' PCs or consoles over their own optimization is just tone deaf. And this is rightfully blowing up in their face as again, people are openly boycotting it in response to all of this. And one last thing before I go, I just want to say it's also weird to me that Borderlands 4, like many other games these days, does not include the game in its own collector's edition, as seen here from June 2025. This is such a bizarre practice that honestly needs to end, but overall, despite all of these issues, and Randy being a moron like usual, I have to admit that when the game runs, when it's actually functioning as intended to, yeah, the game is fun. It's just a big shame that that fun is being overshadowed by a tone-deaf CEO who can't take criticism, and that the company at large thinking that it's in their best interest to attack people instead of fixing the problems that they have created in the first place. Although for people actively boycotting Borderlands 4, look, I get it 100%, it makes sense to me. The game isn't exactly, full of indoctrinated messaging, at least so far anyway. The gameplay and such is fun too. But unfortunately, this mantra of releasing half-baked releases or trying to blame the customer for the faults of the studio is never really going to be a viable tactic that works in these companies' favor. And Randy, with his now legendary crash out, needs to step back and stop tweeting for a good long while, and then just allow these developers at Gearbox to fix this mess without his input. And like I keep saying, because it keeps ringing true, Gearbox's greatest enemy is their CEO and his inability to keep his mouth shut when he needs to. I do hope that this game gets fixed though, because what's here is fun. Genuinely, it is fun to play. It's just a complete shame that it had to go down like this, the same way that so many other games using this engine have as well too. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for being here. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.